The Deep State Challenge, Musk and Trump unite with 7 initiatives to combat DEI policies. Event Overview. On February 3, 2025, a significant political alliance emerged as Elon Musk and former President Donald Trump announced a collaborative effort aimed at dismantling federal policies related to diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI). Central to their agenda is the proposed elimination of the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID), which both leaders have described as fundamentally flawed and beyond repair. Key developments. 1. Live announcement by Musk. During a live broadcast on his social media platform X, Musk expressed his strong disapproval of USAID. He likened the agency to a ball of worms, suggesting that the extent of the problems within it made any reform impossible. Musk's rhetoric painted USAID as so deeply flawed that it warranted complete dissolution rather than reform. 2. Trump's support. Trump echoed Musk's sentiments, labeling USAID as run by a bunch of radical lunatics. He pledged to remove personnel he deemed problematic and articulated a commitment to reshaping the federal workforce to align with his administration's vision. This included efforts to purge agency officials associated with DEI initiatives. 3. Immediate consequences. In the days following Musk's announcement, USAID faced immediate administrative upheaval. Approximately 600 employees were cut off from critical systems overnight, and 2 security chiefs were placed on leave after refusing to comply with new directives from Musk's team. This disruption raised alarms among humanitarian organizations which depend on USAID for global assistance. 4. Website shutdown. On February 4, 2025, the USAID website was taken offline, a move that triggered widespread concern from international humanitarian groups like Oxfam America. The organization warned that dismantling USAID could lead to catastrophic consequences for global humanitarian efforts, jeopardizing aid for millions living in extreme poverty and crisis situations. Strategic framework, the 7 initiatives. Musk and Trump outlined a series of initiatives aimed at combating DEI policies and restructuring federal agencies. 1. Dismantling USAID. As the centerpiece of their strategy, the elimination of USAID is intended to signal a broader campaign against what they perceive as ineffective and costly government programs. 2. Freezing federal spending. The Trump administration has initiated efforts to freeze federal spending, particularly targeting grants and loans associated with diversity initiatives. This spending freeze is expected to impact various federal programs, creating a ripple effect across communities reliant on federal support. 3. Restructuring federal agencies. The plan includes a comprehensive restructuring of federal agencies, emphasizing the removal of officials linked to DEI policies. This restructuring aims to create a more streamlined and efficient government workforce. 4. Promoting alternative economic policies. Alongside the workforce restructuring, Musk and Trump are advocating for economic policies that prioritize traditional industries and sectors, moving away from initiatives perceived to focus on DEI. 5. Revising hiring practices. The administration plans to revise hiring practices within federal agencies to prioritize candidates who align with their political and economic ideologies, potentially sidelining those with backgrounds in social justice or DEI. 6. Implementing new accountability standards. The initiative includes the introduction of enhanced standards of suitability and conduct for federal employees, aimed at instilling a culture aligned with Trump and Musk's vision for governance. 7. Public messaging campaign. Finally, a public messaging campaign is set to promote the benefits of dismantling DEI initiatives, framing them as detrimental to government efficiency and national interests. Reactions and implications. The announcement and subsequent actions have led to a mix of reactions from various stakeholders. Humanitarian concerns. Humanitarian organizations have expressed alarm over the potential fallout from dismantling USAID. Leaders in the field have warned that millions could suffer if the agency's vital functions are disrupted. Political backlash. Critics of Trump and Musk's initiatives have denounced the moves as a politically motivated attack on diversity efforts, warning that such actions may exacerbate existing inequalities and undermine progress made in recent years. Federal workforce anxiety. The federal workforce is facing uncertainty as employees grapple with the implications of Musk and Trump's initiatives. Many are concerned about job security, especially with the proposed restructuring and the chilling effect of the new policies. Conclusion. The alliance between Elon Musk and Donald Trump marks a significant shift in the political landscape regarding federal governance, particularly concerning humanitarian assistance and diversity initiatives. As they pursue their agenda to dismantle DEI policies, the potential ramifications for both domestic and international humanitarian efforts remain a critical concern. The unfolding events will likely shape the future of federal policy and the role of government in addressing social issues, with profound implications for millions relying on federal support. The content discusses the efforts of Elon Musk and Donald Trump to dismantle the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID) as part of a broader initiative against diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) policies. While the situation is fraught with political implications, several counterintuitive pieces of information emerge. 1. Musk's characterization of USAID. Musk's description of USAID as a ball of worms suggests an overly simplistic view of a complex agency. This metaphor implies that the agency is irreparably flawed, which runs counter to the reality that many organizations can be restructured or improved rather than entirely dismantled. 2. Impact of DEI initiatives. Trump and Musk argue that DEI initiatives are ineffective and discriminatory. However, research has shown that diverse teams can enhance creativity and problem-solving capabilities. The narrative that DEI leads to incompetence contradicts studies indicating that diversity can drive better organizational outcomes. 3. Support for humanitarian efforts. The dismantling of USAID is framed as a necessary political move, but it overlooks the agency's critical role in global humanitarian efforts. The assertion that eliminating USAID could be beneficial is counter to the overwhelming evidence that such actions would likely harm millions reliant on its support. 4. Employee reactions and workforce dynamics. The Trump administration's push to downsize the federal workforce, including a significant number of USAID employees, suggests a belief in the replaceability of federal workers. This belief clashes with the understanding that experienced personnel are invaluable and contribute to institutional knowledge and effectiveness. 5. Trump's blame on DEI for broader issues. Trump's attribution of various societal problems to DEI initiatives demonstrates a tendency to oversimplify complex issues. For instance, linking a tragic aviation accident to DEI efforts is a stark departure from logical causality, revealing a counterintuitive approach to governance that seeks scapegoats rather than addressing systemic failures. 6. Political ramifications of aid freezes. The decision to freeze federal spending on grants and loans reflects a disregard for the immediate needs of communities that rely on these funds. The counterintuitive aspect lies in the understanding that reducing governmental support can lead to greater societal instability, which contradicts the intended goal of efficient governance. 7. Musk's role as a policy influencer. While Musk is primarily known for his technological ventures, his foray into political advocacy, particularly in dismantling federal agencies, reveals a surprising shift in how tech moguls influence policy. This challenges traditional notions of political expertise and raises questions about the qualifications of business leaders in governance. These points highlight a tension between the ideological motivations behind the actions of Musk and Trump and the potential real-world implications of their initiatives. The counterintuitive aspects of their approach underscore the complexity of governance and the nuanced impacts of policy decisions on society. The report titled The Deep State Challenge, Musk and Trump Unite with 7 Initiatives to Combat DEI Policies outlines significant recent actions by Elon Musk and Donald Trump against diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI initiatives with a primary focus on the U.S. Agency for International Development USAID. While the summary provides a broad overview, several important aspects often overlooked can have far-reaching implications. 1. Language and rhetoric. Musk's characterization of USAID as a ball of worms is not just a dismissive comment, it reflects a broader narrative of governmental institutions being irreparably broken. This rhetoric is significant because it frames the dismantling of federal agencies in a manner that may resonate with voters who feel disillusioned with government efficiency. The language used by both Musk and Trump positions themselves as reformers rather than destroyers, which could consolidate support among those who favor radical changes in governance. 2. Impact on humanitarian aid. The report touches on the potential consequences of dismantling USAID, particularly regarding global humanitarian efforts. Oxfam America's warning about the catastrophic impact on millions living in poverty is crucial. This point is often overshadowed by domestic political discourse. The implications of reducing or eliminating U.S. humanitarian aid could destabilize regions dependent on this support, leading to increased humanitarian crises that may eventually affect U.S. interests abroad. Such long-term consequences can lead to more significant geopolitical issues, including increased migration and regional instability. 3. Federal workforce dynamics. The report highlights a significant shift in the federal workforce, including a hiring freeze and the offer of paid leave for employees willing to resign. This initiative indicates a strategy to not only reduce the size of the federal workforce but also to fundamentally change its culture. The notion of a fork in the road email suggests a coercive environment that could lead to a loss of institutional knowledge and experience. This could create a vacuum that new hires may not be able to fill, further impacting government efficiency and effectiveness. The political ramifications of such a shift could lead to a more compliant federal workforce aligned with the administration's ideological stance. 4. Broader political strategy. Musk and Trump's alliance represents a strategic pivot towards a more combative stance against established norms within the federal government. This partnership may serve as a model for future political coalitions that seek to mobilize support against perceived bureaucratic inefficiencies. The implications of this alliance extend beyond DEI policies. It sets a precedent for targeting other federal programs and agencies perceived as obstructive to their agendas, potentially leading to a broader dismantling of the modern administrative state. 5. Economic consequences of policy changes. The economic implications of Trump's proposed tariffs and changes to federal spending are significant yet often underreported. The immediate financial burden on American households, estimated at $1,000 to $1,200 annually due to tariffs, raises questions about the long-term viability of such economic policies. This could lead to increased inflation and a deterioration of consumer purchasing power, which may alienate key voter demographics in the upcoming elections. The intersection of economic policy and political strategy is crucial. Ignoring the economic ramifications could lead to unanticipated electoral consequences. 6. Public perception of DEI initiatives. Trump's narrative that ties DEI policies to broader societal issues such as inflation and governmental inefficiency is a tactic that can resonate with portions of the electorate who feel alienated by these initiatives. This framing may not only bolster support for their dismantling but also create a cultural backlash against diversity initiatives across various sectors. The significance of this perception shift could reshape the national conversation around equity and inclusion, potentially leading to a regressive stance on civil rights and social justice. 7. Legal and procedural concerns. The report mentions the legality of the Trump administration's actions, particularly concerning the abrupt freeze and subsequent unfreeze of federal grant funds. This suggests a chaotic governance style that may lead to legal challenges and procedural inefficiencies that could paralyze federal agencies. The implications of such governance could foster a climate of uncertainty impacting not only federal employees but also the communities and organizations reliant on federal support. Conclusion. The report on Musk and Trump's initiatives to combat DEI policies and dismantle USAID contains critical undercurrents that warrant deeper examination. The implications of their actions extend beyond the immediate political landscape, threatening the fabric of federal governance, humanitarian efforts, and public trust in institutions. Understanding these nuances is essential for grasping the full impact of the current political climate and its potential trajectory. 1. Dismantling USAID and its implications. The concerted effort by Musk and Trump to dismantle the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID) raises significant concerns about the future of humanitarian assistance globally. USAID is the largest contributor of humanitarian aid worldwide, and its elimination could lead to catastrophic consequences for millions of people in dire need. The immediate effects of their actions, such as the freezing of funds and the removal of agency staff, highlight the potential instability in humanitarian efforts and the risks to international relations. This point invites an in-depth discussion about the ethical implications of reducing or eliminating foreign aid and the responsibilities of powerful nations in global humanitarian crises. 2. The role of DEI policies in governance. Musk and Trump's characterization of diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI initiatives as detrimental to government efficiency reflects a broader political narrative that seeks to undermine these programs. Their claims that DEI policies create incompetence and inefficiency warrant critical examination. This analysis could explore the historical context of DEI initiatives, their intended goals, and the empirical evidence supporting or refuting claims about their effectiveness. Furthermore, the discussion could delve into the societal implications of rejecting DEI efforts, particularly in terms of equity and representation within government institutions. 3. Political and administrative chaos. The unfolding events under Trump's administration, marked by a chaotic approach to governance reminiscent of his first term, raise important questions about the stability and predictability of federal policies. The swift actions taken against federal employees tied to DEI initiatives and the abrupt freezing and unfreezing of federal grants indicate a volatile political climate that could lead to widespread disillusionment among federal workers and the public. This point opens up a broader conversation about the implications of such governance styles on public trust in institutions, employee morale, and the overall effectiveness of government operations. For impact on domestic and international relations, the alliance between Musk and Trump not only reflects a significant shift in governance but also poses risks to America's standing on the global stage. The backlash from humanitarian organizations and the potential negative impact on relationships with international partners highlight the interconnectedness of domestic policies and foreign relations. Analyzing how the dismantling of agencies like USAID and the aggressive stance against DEI policies could affect America's image abroad as well as its ability to engage in diplomatic relations and humanitarian efforts is crucial. This discussion could also consider the long-term consequences for U.S. foreign policy and international aid strategies. 1. The purge of the civil service 1930s to 1940s. During the 1930s and 1940s, the United States saw significant efforts to remove perceived subversives from government positions, particularly during the Red Scare. The civil service purge aimed to eliminate individuals associated with communist or socialist ideologies. This campaign was characterized by widespread investigations, loyalty oaths, and the dismissal of employees based on their political beliefs. The tactics used during this period bear resemblance to modern efforts to restructure federal agencies and remove personnel associated with certain policies such as DEI. 2. The McCarthy-era 1950s. In the early 1950s, Senator Joseph McCarthy led a campaign against alleged communists in the U.S. government and other institutions. This period was marked by aggressive investigations and accusations that led to the dismissal and blacklisting of many individuals based on their political affiliations or associations. The climate of fear and the push to cleanse government institutions resonate with contemporary movements that seek to dismantle agencies perceived as harboring radical ideologies. Similar to the efforts described in the case of Musk and Trump targeting USAID. 3. The War on Poverty and the Backlash Against Welfare Programs 1960s to 1980s. The War on Poverty initiated in the 1960s aimed to eliminate poverty through various government programs including those run by agencies like the Office of Economic Opportunity. However, as the years progressed, there was a significant backlash against welfare programs and the perceived inefficiencies of government aid. This culminated in the welfare reforms of the 1990s, which sought to reduce government dependency and restructure aid programs. The criticism of DEI initiatives in the current political landscape reflects similar sentiments about the efficacy and motivations behind government-funded programs aimed at promoting social equity. The future outlook: predictions on Musk and Trump's initiatives against DEI policies. As the political landscape continues to evolve in the wake of Elon Musk and Donald Trump's collaboration to dismantle DEI policies, particularly through initiatives targeting agencies like USAID, we can anticipate several potential outcomes over the coming years. 1. Restructuring of federal agencies. The aggressive push to eliminate or overhaul federal agencies will likely lead to a significant restructuring of how the government operates. This could mean a shift toward privatization of certain services where non-governmental organizations or private entities take over roles traditionally held by federal agencies. The implications of this shift could lead to increased inefficiencies and gaps in services, especially in humanitarian aid and international development. 2. Impact on humanitarian efforts. The dismantling of USAID and similar agencies could have severe consequences for global humanitarian efforts. Without a central agency to coordinate and distribute aid, we may witness a decline in the effectiveness of U.S. humanitarian assistance abroad. This could result in increased suffering for vulnerable populations in crisis regions, leading to international backlash against U.S. foreign policy. 3. Political polarization and backlash. The initiatives by Musk and Trump will likely intensify political polarization, and the U.S. supporters may rally behind these moves as necessary for reducing government inefficiencies, while opponents could view them as attacks on social progress and a return to exclusionary practices. This division could manifest in increased protests, advocacy campaigns, and possibly a resurgence of grassroots movements aimed at protecting DEI policies. 4. Legal challenges and legislative pushback. Expect numerous legal challenges to the Trump administration's actions as they seek to dismantle established policies and agencies. These challenges may come from civil rights organizations, humanitarian groups, and even state governments. Moreover, Congress could respond with legislative measures to protect DEI initiatives, leading to a contentious and potentially gridlocked political environment. 5. Corporate response to DEI initiatives. As federal agencies retract their DEI policies, corporations may feel pressure to follow suit, particularly if they align with the political sentiments of Musk and Trump. However, backlash from consumers and advocacy groups could counter this trend, leading to a complex landscape where businesses must navigate public opinion and corporate responsibility. 6. International relations and image. The U.S. may face a decline in its global standing as a leader in humanitarian efforts and a proponent of human rights. This could prompt other countries to fill the void left by a diminished USAID, potentially leading to shifts in alliances and international cooperation on global challenges like climate change and poverty. 7. Long-term effects on governance. The Trump administration's approach to governance, characterized by a focus on dismantling agencies and reducing federal oversight, could set a precedent for future administrations, both Republican and Democrat. This might result in a long-term trend of skepticism toward government agencies and an increase in populist sentiments that favor radical changes over traditional governance. 8. Public sentiment and electoral impact. As these initiatives unfold, public sentiment will play a crucial role in shaping the political landscape. If the public perceives the consequences of dismantling DEI policies as harmful, it may lead to a backlash against Trump and his allies in future elections. Conversely, if voters feel that these changes lead to tangible improvements in governance and efficiency, it could solidify support for these initiatives. 9. Innovation and new approaches. Interestingly, the dismantling of established agencies could open the door for new models of governance and innovation. Private sector solutions, technological advancements, and new philanthropic initiatives may emerge to fill the gaps left by reduced government presence. While this could lead to creative solutions, it also raises concerns about accountability and equity in service delivery. 10. Cultural shift. Finally, the ongoing battle over DEI policies may catalyze a broader cultural shift regarding diversity and inclusion in the U.S. and beyond. As Musk and Trump promote a narrative against these initiatives, grassroots movements advocating for social justice may gain momentum, leading to a re-examination of the role of diversity in society. In conclusion, the future of Musk and Trump's initiatives against DEI policies and the dismantling of agencies like USAID carries a mix of potential outcomes, some promising and others fraught with challenges. The interplay between political, social, and economic factors will ultimately determine how these efforts reshape the landscape of governance, humanitarian aid, and societal norms in the years to come.